So welcome everybody to the Piney Branch Tributary at Freda Drive Stream Restoration presentation. My name is Jim Waters. I am the project manager for this particular construction design project. We're currently at the 35% conceptual design, which means that we're heading in the direction of finalizing getting this thing developed, but there are still some details we need to work out as the design progresses. Now, this restoration is located within the Hunter Mill district of Fairfax County and within the Difficult Run watershed. A few points of order as we get started here. I have everybody on mute right now. Feel free to enter the chat and type in some questions along the way if something comes to mind. A few of my other colleagues are on the call and may be able to answer during the course of the presentation, but at the end we will hold a Q&A session that will not be video recorded, just in case you don't want your questions included on the recording. Be assured it will not be. Once we are completed, this video recording will be posted to the project website, which I can talk about later. So the agenda for this evening, we're looking to provide a little bit of the project background, talk about the overall goals and our restoration approaches for how we like to restore streams. We're going to take a look at the project design. I have a series of slides with photos along the creek that we're going to be looking at, try to explain the benefits, discuss some of the requirements that this project has for the community as a whole, as well as some examples of past projects, as well as a brief discussion of what the next steps are. So as I mentioned, this project is located within the Difficult Run watershed. It is a fairly large watershed within Fairfax County. It extends a lot further up all the way to the Potomac River. The project site is located just a little bit northwest of the town of Vienna. And it's off a Lawyers Road, and up Kedge Drive is ultimately going to be our access point. This project is named Piney Branch Tributary at Freda Drive, which is the road to the east of the project. Initially, we were thinking we were going to access the site off of Freda Drive, but after completing our initial site assessment and survey, we realized that the dead end at Meadow Valley Drive was an easier, more straightforward access off a Lawyers Road, as well as not quite as close to some of the houses that the other potential access point would have been disturbing. We are looking at approximately 1,000 feet of main channel with a couple tributaries adding up to about 1,500 feet of stream total. The main channel is deeply eroded. We can see that there are steep banks that disconnect the stream from the forest floor around it. What this means is during storm events, all the water kind of stays concentrated in the channel, and when water gets concentrated, it tends to go faster and erode more. So the primary channel is seeing the effect of that erosion. Some of these banks are up to 11 feet deep or high, and the tributaries themselves have banks that range from 2 to 6 feet high, coming off of Meadow Valley Drive, Kedge Drive, as well as Freda Drive. Some of this bank erosion is threatening private properties, fences, and structures, as well as the asphalt and dirt walking trail that's located just to the east of the stream. The general goals of our stream restoration projects is to improve the resilience of the stream, make it so that the stream can convey large enough volumes of water during big storm events without sustaining damage, without there being erosion or other damaging instances to the surrounding area. This reduces the sediment that gets transported downstream. It reduces the excess nutrient pollution that goes downstream. It reduces hazards. Right here in this photo, we're looking at a 6 to 7 foot almost vertical fall off, and it's just off of somebody's backyard fence. So These hazards exist as the streams cut themselves deeper, and by coming in and restoring it, we can reduce these hazards, we can reduce the erosion, we can improve the riparian buffers, the vegetation and animal communities that live adjacent to streams. We can make sure we plant native plants, provide habitat. We do have a program to control non-native and invasive vegetation species. And overall, this project will, again, help protect the infrastructure and property that are adjacent to the stream. There's a few methods that we use to restore stream channels. One of them is by filling the deeply incised streams in. We import material that will remain stable over time, fill that channel, and allow the stream to reconnect to the forest floor around it. Here we have an example of a stream that's a little bit incised. They were able to fill that up, provide some stability, and it's much closer tied into the elevation of the surrounding forest, and there really aren't those fall hazards that we were seeing in the earlier pictures. Another method we do is, instead of raising the channel up, we can cut the floodplain down. This has a slightly wider footprint of disturbance, as we have to remove more trees to accomplish it, but it does the same goal. It allows us to stabilize the center of the channel where most of the water flows, provide a floodplain that can become active during larger storm events. Again, as water concentrates, as we have large storm events, if the water is allowed to concentrate, it moves faster, it has more erosive power, and it can cause the stream to migrate where we don't want it to. So by giving it a place that it can safely and stably flow, more shallow and slower, that reduces a lot of that potential damage. We also have a priority 3 restoration. A lot of times in Fairfax County, we're so developed that the streams have very narrow corridors with which we allow them to exist. There's roads on one side, there's buildings on the other. This site is no exception to that. You have the walking path on one side, you have the residences on the other. So to some extent, we are confined. And in those conditions, we do a little bit of a combination. We fill up a little bit, we cut a lower floodplain bench, but ultimately we have to try to provide stable slopes that will allow the channel to be big enough to convey the water it needs to convey, again, without causing any damage to the or erosion on the surrounding hillsides. To accomplish this, we have a few different tools that we can use in the stream restoration in the form of structures that we install in the streams. Some of them are step pools, where we do a series of rock structures that, much like a staircase, allows the stream to come down in elevation very quickly while still being in control of the water and allowing it to flow where we want it to flow. Every time the water enters one of these pools, it loses some energy, it slows down again, comes to the next step, falls down, loses its energy, slows down again, and it again reduces the chance of erosion occurring. We also have cross veins, where in the event of a high flow situation, the shape of these veins it's kind of V shape, and as the water comes over the outside, it cascades inward and it kind of reconcentrates the water a little bit, allowing it to expend some energy, slow down before it continues downstream. In between such features, we often put reinforced bed mixes or riffles, where we utilize larger rocks, cobbles, gravels, and even some sands and dirt and sticks to help all of this aggregate, all the material, lock into each other. And it really helps prevent erosion. And when we incorporate sticks and fines, dirt, into these mixes, it also allows for there to be biohabitat for the various creatures that we hope to have living in the stream again after this restoration effort is completed. For your project, as I said, it is between Meadow Valley Drive, Kedge Drive, and then Freda Drive. I've rotated this map a little bit, so north is off to the side. Our access point into the site is going to be from the dead end at the end of Meadow Valley Drive. We're going to install an access road that runs the length of the stream restoration and allows us to access everything we need to access in order to stabilize this stream project. We have 4 outfalls along the length of it. Outfall 1, we're going to attempt a priority 1 restoration where we kind of fill in the channel, reconnect it to the existing forest floor around it. You already have a stretch of the stream that is in stable condition, so we're not proposing to do anything there. I'll show you some pictures of that later. Outfall 2 is also in fairly stable condition. The only exception of that is the confluence area, the area where outfall 2 and the main tributary meet up. That area is where the most extensive erosion begins. And from that confluence of outfall 2 and the main channel down to the end, that's where the bulk of this stream restoration work will occur. Outfall 3, there's a storm drain that discharges onto the surface right at the back edge of some of the properties, and that channel is also cut down and incised a little bit and needs to be stabilized and reconnected to the stream. And then outfall 4, again, we'll see pictures of these shortly, is also going to see some restoration. We also have a few pockets of areas where we are working to protect the trees. We do not want to come in here and cut down every single tree. We want to be able to save what we can throughout the project, as well as where we can leave little pockets of trees across the middle so that that overhead canopy of leaves and tree branches stays sound and helps protect the area to again allow for better biodiversity and a better final condition of the site. Here we're looking at an image of the plan design as it currently exists. Again, we have the end of Meadow Valley Drive, our construction entrance, and the access road along the stream. This is outfall 1 that we're going to look to restore, a staging area, and then this is the confluence where outfall 2, which has, if you're familiar with the area, there's a walking path and a old bridge across the outfall 2 area here. That was deemed in stable enough condition that we were not going to be doing any work in there. Our priority is going to be stabilizing where that outfall and the main stream channel connect and working downstream from there. So looking at existing conditions, if we start up by Meadow Valley Drive, this is what that area looks like currently. There's a basketball hoop, a couple of trees growing up. This will be our primary construction entrance, our only construction entrance really, where all of the equipment and vehicles that need to enter the site, this is where they will be approaching the stream restoration from. Looking at that outfall 1, you can see there is some erosion through the middle here. It's fairly close to being connected to the surrounding forest. So by filling it a little bit, by providing some larger aggregate, some more stable material, we can get this channel into a condition where it will be able to last a good long while without any excessive erosion. Moving a little farther down, we have a potential stockpile area on the far side of the stream. This is currently optional for the purposes of the plans, and so we're in discussions on what we're doing there. This is what that area currently looks like. It is being mowed. It's open. If we were to use it, we would not have to do any extensive clearing. We would simply have to bridge the small channel as it exists. That channel, as I said earlier, there is a nice stable section here where it was previously stabilized with rock, with riprap. And so you can see in its existing condition that rock is in good condition. There are trees growing up through it. There are some non-natives, but all that will be within our non-native treatment area. And this should be, other than cleaning up a little bit of vegetation, we're not really intending to do anything with this section of the stream channel. A little further down that section, just before the confluence, you can look down the channel and see this is what we would call an ephemeral stream, where there really isn't any water in it unless it's actively raining and the storm drains are active. That's when this area sees flow. Otherwise, it remains dry and stable. As we move on to the next sheet of the design, we're going to come to this confluence here. That area as we move over is now on this side of the screen. As that confluence comes together between the main channel and outfall 2, that's where we start to see a lot of erosion. There's a lot of bare dirt, collapsed rock where the erosion is starting to undermine that otherwise stable area. So if we're able to get in there and bring that to a stable condition, it should again last for a long time. Coming in a little closer to this, we see our main channel is flowing here. Outfall 2 is flowing this way. That's outfall 2 is here. Main channel coming in through here. As these two channels come together during high flow storm events, there's a lot of turbulence, and that's why the erosion looks as extensive as it is. Our goal here is to get this area to a nice stable condition. Again, we're not doing much with this. We're not doing much with that up there, but we want to bring this juncture into a stable condition where it can handle the flows that the system sees during big rain events. Again, this is just a slightly closer view of that same confluence, and you can see there are 3 to 4 foot deep erosive cuts at the end of that. Moving down the channel just a little bit, we're going to be looking downstream next. This is what a large chunk of the channel looks like. This bank right here is about 5.5 to 6 foot tall. Your forest floor is way up high. Your stream is completely disconnected from it. Again, every time that this system sees a high flow rain event, the water stays in here and it goes faster and it causes more erosion. So we want to try to bring that channel up, widen out these slopes, bring them to a stable, well-vegetated condition where this channel will be able to handle the water that flows through it without receiving any damage. Looking a little farther down, we have the pedestrian walking path, sometimes paved, sometimes dirt, that runs along the east side of the stream. This section of it is going to become our access path for machinery and materials. In its existing condition, it's wide, it's mowed. By utilizing this space, we're going to be minimizing the amount of trees that we have to take down, minimizing the amount of disturbance we have to do on the surrounding forest. And this will be protected as best we can with a heavy layer of mulch and some wood matting to really prevent this area from receiving damage. And then upon completion of the work, the area will be cleaned up and stabilized back to approximately the pre-existing condition. Up here we have a small staging area next to outfall 3. This outfall, as I mentioned earlier, is just where a storm drain inlet discharges to the surface. Little bit of growth around it, and just off the edge of this, that area is eroded 2 to 3 feet. And that will continue to be a problem if we leave it to be there. So we want to come in, clean this area up. We may end up extending the pipe a little bit to move it farther off the property line. But the primary goal at this point is just to stabilize the channel that this pipe discharges into and make sure that it has a stable connection to the main section of the stream. Moving on to the last page of the design, we're going to come to the end of your walking path here. So from the end of the walking path, we're going to extend down to where it ties into the main section of Piney Branch. Looking from just by that walking path, you can see the remnants of the loop that the walking path had. This is going to be our final staging area of the site. Again, it's nice, it's open, it's grassy. We're not going to have to do any extensive clearing to utilize it. We are going to clear up some of this to provide us access to the stream channel, but this will be this nice open space will be protected with mats as best we can and will be the final staging area. From there, we're looking at outfall 4. This channel is also fairly eroded down. These are 3.5 to 5 feet, depending on where you're standing. And with the manicured mowed area and short herbaceous growth next to it, it's a falling hazard. And again, by raising this up, by cutting down these slopes to where it can be stable, we're hoping to allow this area to convey the water it needs to convey without receiving further damage or sending more sediment downstream. Here we have the confluence of outfall 4 with the main channel. Where those two streams come together, there's a lot of turbulence and therefore a lot of erosion. Now, previous attempts by homeowners or HOAs, I'm unsure, they've attempted to armor that bank to help protect the property, and they basically used bags of concrete you could get from Home Depot, stacked them like bricks against the bank, and that did armor and protect it from erosion for a time. But as we can see, it's starting to fail. And from a different angle, looking downstream at it, as it was starting to fail there, the water is able to get behind it, and all of this is eroded out to where the roots of this tree are almost completely undermined, and that tree could fall over at any time. Now, the resident adjacent to this particular tree had the top half of it basically cut off to help protect their property and prevent it from causing damage, but this and other trees similar to it will be addressed during the course of this restoration. Now, all that being said, as much erosion as we've seen through these pictures, by the time you get to the actual end of the stream, where it ties into the main section of Piney Branch, it's actually not that big. This is the creek as it discharges into Piney Branch. And you can see in this area, it's not cut down. It's connected to the forest floor around it. There's vegetation on either sides. And what that does is it helps lock the sand, lock the dirt in place to where even in heavy rain events where the stream sees high flow, you're not finding the erosion that you did upstream. So by coming in and stabilizing this, the stream will once again be under control and not have those big erosive forces impacting it. So that's kind of what the project looks like overall. Benefits of the stream restoration: reduce erosion, again, slow down the water, let it spread out and stay shallow to where it's not getting that erosive power that deep, fast-moving water has. We can, the structures are going to kind of retain the water slowly. We'll have pools of water along the length, which will support habitat diversity, maybe some wetland pools. Some of that water will end up infiltrating into the ground and rejoining the groundwater layer instead of being on the surface, and generally improve conditions to where it will have, sustained water through this section and hopefully remain a lovely stream for years to come. Now, our team put together a rendering based on this photo of what final conditions may look like. So a few years after construction, we're hoping that will look similar to this, where the stream channel is stabilized with heavier aggregates. There is water pooling and flowing within the channel at all times, and we have a nice lush native vegetation community on either side of the stream with moderate-sized trees starting to grow up to once again reestablish that overhead canopy that currently exists. This is outfall 4, as we saw earlier, and again, this is going to be raised up and reconnected to the surrounding landscape, and again, support that native vegetation community and repopulate with trees that we have planted as the project progresses and the lifespan of the project afterwards. As part of the stream restoration, stream assessment, we surveyed the trees. There were 421 large trees that are 12 inches in diameter or greater that were identified within the general project area. Of those 400 trees, 57 are currently earmarked for removal. And of the 57 we are removing, 34 of them have been noted as being in good enough condition that they can potentially be used in structures either in the channel or on the floodplains to either side. An example of that is these log pile structures where we intentionally leave behind the bottoms of the trees with the root wads and a section of trunk, space them out to act as, or to be deadfall features. Living forests have a variety of uh, vegetation and detritus within it, and rather than leave behind a golf course, we want to leave behind something that is and will return to a nice healthy forest. And part of that health is the detritus, is these fallen logs where older trees fall and decay and provide habitat and food for the various critters and microbes that live in a healthy forest. And again, new trees, of these 57 trees removed, we will be planting a new understory using native vegetation such as river birch, winterberry holly, dogwood, sycamore, red maple, as well as an understory layer of various bushes and a herbaceous layer that where we spread native seeds to promote the growth of healthy riparian understories. Returning to kind of this image of the project overall, we're going to start looking at property impacts. The majority of this project takes place on HOA-owned parcels. Marshall Estates Homeowners Association owns the parcel where the construction entrance is. The Enterprise Community Association owns the main section of the stream channel, and the Balmoral Community Association has ownership on the bottom section and where we tie out into the main section of the Piney Branch stream. There are easements in place for some sections of this stream restoration project. Easements are basically a use agreement between the owner of a property and other individuals or entities, in our case, the county, that need to access and utilize the space. Often easements are used for utility lines, cable TV, power, sewer lines, that sort of thing, that allows the utility companies to come in and maintain their equipment should anything need maintenance or upgrading. They have the easement in place to help support that. Stream restoration is no different. If we are going to be able to build this project, we want to be able to check on it and maintain it for years to come to make sure that if it needs repair, we can go in and repair it. If other action need to be taken, we have the access we need to help out. So some of the existing easements are simple conservation easements. Some of them are stormwater easements. Some areas don't have any at all. So we will be following up with the HOA representatives as well as a few individual homeowners to try and start communications and negotiations for establishing those easements to allow this project to continue. Again, this is kind of a visual overlay of the stream, proposed stream project relative to the homes around it. Finally, we will look at some examples of similar projects that Fairfax County has completed in the past. These three are an example from Turkey Run at Truro. Before restoration, we had those similar eroded banks that were very steep, disconnecting the stream from the surrounding forest and allowing for erosion that would start to undermine trees over time. Filling it in, giving some heavier aggregate in there and locking everything in place, it was able to stabilize. Planting with small trees initially. This is a year after the restoration. And then 4 years after, all those trees we planted, all that herbaceous growth that was planted has really matured and is starting to fill in the forest area around the stream. We have another example here at the Difficult Run tributary near the Government Center, where before the work, the stream was deeply cut down, undermining trees that were starting to fall. And by filling it in, stabilizing it, reconnecting it to the floodplain, we managed to return it to a stable condition that will be healthy long-term afterwards. Here's another example where somebody had used concrete sacks or similar to build a retaining wall. Again, trying to fill this in, trying to get things to a stable condition and reconnecting to the stream. This is a good example of where we have the stream channel base flow every day. You're just going to have some nice shallow water, slow moving, very stable. But during storm events, it has room to expand. These slopes are stable, they're vegetated, they're not being eroded by your moderate storms. During very large storms, the water even could flow up here across this little plateau area and be nice and spread out and not be going that fast. So we're controlling erosion. We're giving the water room to flow in the event of very large storms, but overall keeping the system stable and allowing it to return to a healthy vegetative condition. This is another example. This is from Dead Run. We have this house in the background. This is going to be similar or the same house through these two pictures and the next two. So before construction, again, very steep, eroded banks, not very healthy stream condition. Almost immediately after construction, you've got basic vegetative stabilization. The stream is in a nice stable configuration with the aggregate that's in there. 1 year afterwards, that understory growth has really taken off and started to establish. The trees that were planted are starting to try and grow and mature. 2 years afterwards, it's a nice, lush, healthy ecosystem that will continue to thrive for years to come while that stream remains stable. So, next steps for this particular project. We need to work with the landowners, HOAs, and individuals to establish easement agreements. We have a few more utility survey that was done recently. We're waiting on the data. We're waiting on that data, and then it will allow us to progress to the next steps. We're going to be having a 65% design and 95% design public meetings to continue to present any changes to the overall design as it progresses. And then afterwards, the construction timeline, that one is yet to be determined. Right now, our design timeline has this current process continuing kind of through the end of 2026. After that, the construction timeline would start, which involves a permitting process, a bidding process, the actual construction, and then some post-construction monitoring for a few years afterwards. So overall, this project is a couple years out from seeing actual disturbance in the community, but all of these steps are important to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we are really putting a good project forward for you guys and something that you can enjoy for years to come. So that kind of concludes my presentation on this, and we can go ahead and open things up to questions. Here's my contact information. If any of you don't want to ask the question in the open forum, or if you're watching the video recording, you can feel free to email me, and I will be able to follow up with you on that. So with that, I will stop the recording.